I travel to escape. I travel for the stories. I travel because I want to.
Crosses over fear, the fear of love and what it does to those they hold near. So let's run till the water meets the sun. We can toss our worries far away from our hearts. And if you listen, you cannot hear them calling out our names, calling out our names. Standing tall, this world is in our hands. So get up and grab your walking stick. My life is what I promised you. You know that is true. That is where I'll stand. Though we might fade and fall, we'll keep on standing tall. This world is in our hands. So get up and grab your walking stick. These mountains have no trail, but we are tough as nails.
I travel to remember. I travel for that moment.
In the middle, there's a where all the signs point to the exits, and the soundtrack plays in double time. Stay still, everything I've ever lost catches up with me. The days get heavy, the nights get thin. Do you know the trouble I'm in? The days get heavy, the nights get lost. Do you know the trouble I've caused?
Picture New York, and I'm pretty confident you'll actually picture Manhattan. The skyline, the landmarks, the ephemera, we've been trained to see New York as Manhattan and Manhattan alone. But just across the river in the red-eye blur you experience between the JFK Arrivals Hall and Times Square is a place that will redefine your image of New York and of America forever. Queens is bigger than you might think. In fact, it's the biggest of the 5 boroughs by quite a long way. Nearly 180 square miles of earth and sea are home to the 2.3 million people who will be quick to remind you that Queens is also the geographic center of New York City. If Queens was a city in its own right, it would be the 4th most populous city in America. And while those are impressive statistics to be sure, it's not the only thing that makes Queens fascinating. To see that, you need to look up. The airspace above Queens is some of the busiest on Earth. And that's really no surprise because Queens is home to 2 of the world's busiest airports, JFK and LaGuardia. These are not good airports. In fact, they're terrible airports. I hate them both, as does anyone who's ever flown in, out, or around them. JFK is the busiest international gateway to North America, and it shows. What began as the humble Idlewild Airport 76 years ago is now the behemoth we all love to hate. But in reality, JFK is a miracle of operational efficiency. Every day, 300 flights push back from gates at its 8 terminals, across its miles of taxiway to its 4 runways. 53 million passengers a year are shepherded from curb to gate by the airport's 35,000 employees. Nobody likes coming to JFK, but it's hard not to be impressed by the scale and magnitude of this airport.
End of the week, she simply said no, label me a. I said, how you figure? My friends tell me so. I hate when silly groupies wanna run their
But for many of the people who gave up everything to come to America, to come to New York more importantly, this is what they first saw of their new home, their new life. From Korea, from India, from Greece, they may have settled in Queens, but they arrived in JFK. LaGuardia. My mother always said, if you can't think of anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Okay, well, the only thing I can think of that's even remotely exonerating about this spit-polished prisoner processing center is that it's technically the closest of all of the area airports to Manhattan. And that is all I have to say about that. The airports provided the gateway to Queens and all the promise therein, but the subway provided the movement. The here, there, and everywhere in between that turned wide-eyed emigres into business owners, restaurateurs, community activists, New Yorkers.
Shorty, let me tell you about my only vice. It has to do with lots of loving, and it ain't nothing nice.
12 New York City subway routes spider across Queens, covering 81 stations from Long Island City all the way out to the Rockaways. With your trusty Metro card in hand, you can take your place in the perpetual parade that takes all corners of this wonderful borough. But there's a particular subway line that deserves your time and attention. A line that is so much more than just a means of getting from point A to point B. The 7 train is Queens' spinal cord. As it rattles and roars above Roosevelt Avenue, the joy and the beauty of Queens unfurls below you. Jump on it in Manhattan and you'll pass through Vietnam, Korea, Guatemala, Greece, Haiti, Hong Kong, and Honduras before you get anywhere near the edge of the borough. But it's not enough to simply slip through Queens on the 7. You have to experience that diversity firsthand. And the fastest way to understand a culture is to understand what fuels them.
This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky. It's tight. Here we go.
So we're in Jackson Heights. They say it's probably the most diverse neighborhood in the whole city, not even just Queens. This plaza is called Diversity Plaza, which is very fitting given where we are. So here's a big Tibetan, Nepali, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Indian community in this immediate vicinity. A few blocks that way is Filipino community. A few blocks that way is a little Thai town. And then we go a few blocks that way, you can see more Ecuadorian, Colombian, Mexican, from Malaysia, and there's even more.
Wow.
It's pretty incredible.
It is incredible. Meet Greg and Yumi, Queens locals, Queens experts, Queens fanatics. They believe the best way to appreciate Queens is to appreciate its food.
There's a restaurant there called Ihawan. You can smell the barbecue. When you're on the 7 train in the front car at 69th Street here, you can smell that barbecue coming out.
Really?
Yeah. It's good.
It's torture.
Yeah.
Queens is torture. There's so much food from so many different places all under your nose, begging for your attention.
Embarrassment of riches we have here.
Yeah, it really is. I've never been one for following convention, so starting with sweet is fine by me. Roadside Thai-style ice cream.
I've been waiting for this the whole year. They only
Yeah.
come out in summertime.
Yeah.
When in Queens, as they say.
Yeah, try to get green tea, then you gotta get the coconut, because coconut is killer. There's a piece of coconut in it.
And at $1 per scoop, I can understand the hype.
You gotta come to Queens. I mean, like, you're getting dollar ice cream. You get samosas for $1. You get an order of momos, $5. It's
That's the way to do it.
4 tacos, $5. You can really just eat on the street.
Eat like a king.
Yeah.
Or queen.
Or queen.
With a huge Southeast Asian population, it's no surprise that the Chinese food in Queens is unreal. And we're not just talking your standard takeout dishes, we're talking the good stuff. Xianjiang barbecue.
Here we add lamb, we have squid, we have mushroom, we order chicken hearts. They have a whole variety here. You can get shrimp, you can get all types of the innards, all the good stuff, the kidneys, liver, you get gizzard. So much here. But I think Queens really has, especially like this
I've
setup.
never seen anything like this in New York.
No,
With
this
your
is,
cart, sitting down,
Yeah.
with anything like with your chicken hearts.
yeah,
You know, in New York.
pretty incredible.
Yeah. It's the way it should be. So good. Cumin.
Oh yeah.
And from China, you can walk 2 blocks over to Ecuador. Wonderful, delicious Ecuador.
We got a hornado, so it's a roast pork. That's a yapingacho, it's like a potato patty. Yeah, it's like a potato patty.
That's so good.
That pork is calling your name, huh?
And the skin was shouting my name. Not to mention the beautiful, spicy, impossibly orange sauce that goes with it.
You could basically travel the world.
It's incredible.
Yeah, you can do walking, and you can just travel the world with a subway ride.
Unreal.
Yeah, then in Elmhurst, where we just passed Malaysian, Indonesian, so much. There's Bhutanese billiard halls where you could find momos.
Why are you looking for a roommate? Why would you not live here?
I know, it's just,
So good.
couldn't live anywhere else in New York but Queens. I'm born and raised here, I can't think of living anywhere else.
And as the transcontinental subway line number 7 rumbles overhead, I can understand why. While there is an almost limitless supply of incredible food from all over the world, Queens is also home to one of my favorite breakfasts anywhere on earth, the good old diner breakfast. Walk any block in any direction in this borough and you'll find a diner serving American breakfast classics. I cannot come to New York City without having a little bit of this. You can't get these anywhere in the world. I don't care what anybody says. Another day in Queens, and I'm meeting old friend Ron Richards. A Queens prodigal son, die-hard Mets fan, and pinball wizard, Ron is quick to dismiss the idea that Queens is just a viewing platform for Manhattan.
For me, the reason why I like Queens is like because it's real.
Yeah.
It's like real people live here, and real people, you know, the people who do all the working and the living and the dying in New York City are in Queens.
That's quite a bold proclamation, but how has Queens come to be the realest of all the boroughs?
It's a place where not rich people can come and settle down in New York City still. I think that's the thing. Someone, you know, like New York City has, you know, it's the dream of coming to New York between Ellis Island and immigration and all that sort of stuff. You know, New York City, despite being one of the most expensive cities in the world, so that can still be affordable for someone who's just arriving in this country or just arriving from Kansas. Like, you know, the kids who dream of going to New York. Yeah. You know, like so many of my friends coming out of college went to Astoria, you know, or North Queens and stuff like that because it was close enough to the city, but but still nice enough, but still affordable. The promise of New York, I think, is more present in Queens than any of the other boroughs.
But it might feel like a few of those promises have been broken. These days, the American dream is looking a little worse for wear. No matter your politics, morale is low, heads are hanging. But the people of Queens are having none of that. They have, through their hard work, camaraderie, and sense of self, fished the American dream out of the garbage, dusted it off, given it a fresh coat of paint, and put it back in its rightful place. This is the community who is simultaneously proud of where they came from and where they ended up. Queens is what the American dream looks like. Queens is what America looks like. And I, for one, have never been prouder.
don't know the finest diamonds are graded by the 4 C's. Color, clarity, cut, carat. Visit Colombian Emeralds International and ask them to show you what I just brought back from the mines. Colombian Emeralds International. Pop.